Hi, I'm Guy.
And put your red coats on. I'm Troy. Or brown coats. Red shirts and brown coats. Put your red shirts on and your brown coats too. Everybody's joining the crew. I forget the rest of the words or lyrics.
Get your hulu hammer, and your needler guns.
Needler gun.
And your
sonic screwdriver.
Sonic screwdriver is sword plus one.
Yeah. Get your Valerian
steel if it'll get you to come to the Geek Tank.
Yeah. There.
To the Geek Tank.
And that's the size of this podcast.
The Rocky Mountain Geek Tank.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good evening, Brett. Welcome to the show. We jumped right in, both feet. Because it's like, well, it's 9:01. We can either start at 9:01 or we can start at 9:04 if we run the credits.
Right. We need to make credits that don't run that long. And by we, I mean me. I know.
Well, it'd be helpful if it didn't have like a minute and a half countdown before it starts.
It was originally designed to do a completely different job.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, when we built that, we weren't broadcasting like this. We were rigging up for it to be live and broadcasted, and we had to
screw it. I'm doing it live.
Yeah, we had to hit the button and then sit there and wait to hit the other button, and we had to click like 6 buttons in between. And if you did them out of order, everything screwed up. So I wanted to give us time to mess it up and do it, stuff. So now the StreamYard thing does it by itself. So
I still remember the one time we filmed. This was back when we were doing almost like an hour show, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to the end and realized we hadn't hit record.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's like, well, that sucks so much.
Yep. There's I've been going through and I'm doing both physical and digital decluttering as we count down the moments until I depart from this country and move to another country. And I'm doing both the digital and the physical. And when I've been doing the digital, I've been noticing I've got a ton of Geek Tank stuff. And I should probably put it on a drive or something so that you and I both have a ton of Geek Tank stuff instead of just me. And if something explodes, that's it. All of it's gone.
I also saw that Facebook is going to start purging videos.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So all of our previous videos are probably going to go goodbye because we don't really have storage room to go download them all.
Well, I've got the storage room. I just don't have the time to download them all.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them out there.
And I don't know if you can just do a select all.
I hope if you could, that'd be useful. If somebody knows how to do select all on all of those videos and just download them in a clump, I will happily park them somewhere. I have a 6 terabyte storage drive over here, and I cannot imagine that Facebook's been storing these things at full resolution. So they've got to be markedly smaller. I mean, I guess obviously if
for HDK 3D, I mean, just
yeah. Brent saying he would put it up on his server.
I'm looking to see if
so.
Where's the manage? I'm looking for manage videos. This might pull my computer up. I don't know.
We could probably not do this live, though.
No, but it's fun to do it live.
I see.
Oh, you could keep talking about stuff.
I was going to just keep talking about the...
you can't download the one we're doing right now. I'll tell you that.
Man, they take all the fun out of it. I know.
Expect me to live.
I'm just saying, what if I wanted to download the one that we're doing right now?
Too bad.
See, that's it. I'm done with Facebook. Just because it's one thing.
That's
so I do what?
Yeah, that's the straw that broke the camel's back.
That was the straw. That was it. None of the other things. That was it.
All right. Yes, you were doing what now?
I was thinking. So people keep talking about Marie Kondo, and I think that there's an interesting discussion about Marie Kondo. She's I don't know if I'd want to call her an influencer since she clearly does.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to really the social media revolution, although the social media was there, just not in the same manner.
She's the one who likes to do decluttering. What sparks joy
What sparks joy? And she kind of gets, unfortunately, taken out of context. You know what I mean? Like,
well, right, because there was a meme going around a while ago of like, what do you mean keep only 3 books? That's ridiculous.
right. And stuff like that kind of gets pulled out of context. Because, of course, what she was really saying was that, and this is something that is part of kind of Japanese culture, which is if you're not using it anymore, thank it for its service and send it on because it might be useful to somebody else. And that's kind of, in Japan, makes a lot of sense. There's not a lot of room. You don't have a lot of space. You can't just like store stuff everywhere. Mm-hmm. Japan is not a friendly country to hoarders and never really has been. So I kind of get where she's coming from. And I think it's interesting because I've been kind of trying to think in that thought process, kind of poking around and thinking, okay, does this have a job? Can this have a job? And it's led me to some relatively interesting thought processes, especially when we're talking about game pieces to games. Mm-hmm. We know that I have always had a cardboard addiction, and that is an interesting aspect of this is, what do I do with the 47 trillion little pieces that belong to Starfleet battles?
Yep, that's what started it all, probably, right?
Yeah, and that is. I mean, I've had my little Starfleet battles pieces for a long time, and there was something that I realized that there's like an internal conflict I was going through, and that was that I like to sometimes just put the little pieces out on the table and go through scenarios with them in my head, like, battles between starships, or this starship went to this planet and beamed down people, and like all these, like,
the same thing as
the
same way that people would recreate historical battles with little miniatures. That
right, yeah. But I actually have been doing this since I was a kid and still like to do it that way, without rules or anything like that. We're just running through the story, and it's the way my brain works creatively. And as an adult, I have thought, well, you're not following any rules, you're not doing a rule thing, so this is just childish. It's something like, it's almost been like a childish, you're being childish, you're playing make-believe. And now I'm kind of like sitting there going, yeah, but that was part of my creative process. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of the Tamerlane stories that I wrote came from me putting the little blue and black Tamerlane marker on the table on a black piece of felt, and just having them go to planets and do stuff and
there's an Alex
down and things.
No.
Yep.
Did you click something?
Nope. I touched nothing.
I clicked one thing once, and that was to add him, and then it vanished.
He doesn't like us as much.
I think his computer doesn't like us.
Yep. So anyway, it's been this has been an exploration. Not
try this one more time.
There we go. There we go. Now he's here.
You let me, and I was having audio issues, so I.
Okay.
We thought we broke you somehow. Like you joined, then like, haha, no, denied.
Psych. In any case,
we're like asking each other, did you click him off? Did you click him off?
Did you click it? I didn't click it. I'll catch you up real fast. We're talking about decluttering and such, and it went to guy talking about his cardboard addiction with little cardboard pieces to board games like Starfleet Battles, and how he uses them to help create stories. And that's where we were when you came in.
But, and what I was saying was I had always felt somewhat guilty because it felt to me like it was childish make-believe playtime because there were no rules. And I am now kind of reevaluating. This, by the way, started with a comment about Marie Kondo and her, get rid of the things that don't bring you joy, and how she's been kind of malaligned a little bit because, they take her out of context. But the Japanese have a thing, which is If you don't need it anymore, thank it for its service and move it on so someone else can use it. And that's where her whole concept comes from. She's Japanese, so she pulls that from her historical sort of cultural thing. And I've been thinking a lot about this, and there's things like the little plastic pieces that go to Axis and Allies. I have a complete set of Axis and Allies. And my question is, I never use the game. I play with the little ships on a piece of felt on my table. And I feel guilty that I don't use the game. And now I'm kind of like, should I just keep the little plastic pieces and get rid of the game? Because it's just storing up space. And it's just taking up space. And then I feel guilty that I don't play it. Well, nobody's going to ever play Axis and Allies with me. Only Troy is crazy enough to even try. And Troy and I don't have the ability to do it without a cat or a kid getting in the middle of it during the week.
Cat kid
to play the game.
Oh, this reminds me of one of those Japanese for English speakers books that also has some cultural touchstones. This was a funny one, and it said, modern translation, one who owns a CD player must also own CDs.
Yes.
Ancient wisdom is that's from your possessions wind up possessing you. Yeah, no, I kind of get that. I've been doing a lot of decluttering myself. I have many boxes off camera. And also, like, I think I was talking about this, like, more stuff is out on my shelves now. I still have many boxes of books that are actually, I think they're all out now, because I'm like repackaging them. But I have taken six totes to Black and Red. I have 10 or 11 more ready to go.
Yeah, I actually kind of warned Kari about that as well, and she said, "Please spread them out."
yeah. I don't know. I'll take like 4 at a time or something.
Yeah.
But no, it was like one thing that I've been doing with my decluttering, and I obviously do I would rather have somebody who would love it have it.
Yeah.
And Black Red kind of does that because hopefully it'll become someone else's treasure. Some things of mine I'm keeping. I'm getting rid of a ton of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff I am keeping for a variety of reasons. Some of it is because I want to make sure that my kid has got access to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually have also off camera. I've got this cubby. I got a TV on top of it, but it's like I got a 12-foot HDMI cable. Take the TV or the computer to it for when you do some games. But a bunch of stuff on there. American style comics, American style manga, actual translated manga, fiction books, nonfiction, that I really want to encourage her to like dig into.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that I would have absolutely done so at her age. But then again, I didn't have a device either.
Yeah.
I do still read to her sometimes. Right now we're reading the newest Earthsea book still, or the next Earthsea book, the 5th one. But it's like, yeah, it's like here's all this cool stuff, and like I said, some of the stuff is like just for me. Like there are things that she is not going to get into, most likely. I wouldn't even encourage her to get into it, but I'm going to keep it for me. But some other stuff, I'm like, yeah, this is stuff for her as well. Like we just watched Judgment Day. We were watching X-Files, and we're in season 2, and the alien bounty hunter is doing this thing. I'm like, this is so Terminator. It's blank looks. I'm like, we're watching the Terminator. So we watched that a week ago, and then a couple days ago, I'm like, okay, time for Judgment Day.
Right.
And we actually watched the special edition of it, which has like an extra 15 minutes or so.
That's really a good one.
Yeah, I mean, like, yes, the Terminator trying to smile is a dumb bit, but I think that it's really made up for with like the taking the CPU out and toggling the switch on it, and the Kyle Reese dream sequence. Yeah, I mean, like just those two alone, I'm like, no, we need to watch the special edition on that, and she really enjoyed it. She's very media savvy. Like we're watching it, and she's like, because of course it opens up with just Terminators coming in because James Cameron assumes you've seen the Terminator,
Right.
which I thought was like, I'm like, you know what? Good on you, Cameron. I didn't really realize that when I first watched it, or the last million times I've watched it. But like, yeah, it's like it's there, and then he goes, and my kiddo, she starts going, it's like, you know, when I was watching the first one, I thought maybe they were both going to be robots. I'm like, we'll not give this away. You know, it's like, but we were watching it and having a great time, and we're gonna stop there.
Yeah.
It's yeah, like I
Yeah,
haven't
because
seen
unfortunately,
the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I hear they're good, but I was, you know, it's like just those two movies are just top shelf.
yeah.
And and even when they're like, all right, we won. Nova's like, there's still one in that head of his. It's like, yup.
Nice.
It's like, yup.
So
I wanted to quickly touch on the Condor thing. Maria Kondo.
Kondo.
Kondo. So what was misinterpreted was that it eventually got misinterpreted down to nobody should have more than 3 books. What it was before it was misinterpreted in a different way, which is nobody should own more than 30 books. So at some point they dropped a 0 in that. What she actually said was, I myself keep no more than 30 volumes in my house. Just keep the books that spark joy in your life and that you plan on rereading. So she didn't set a number. She just said, this is how many I keep, but here's the guidelines you should keep. Don't keep a book that you don't plan on not rereading. Is kind of where she's going. But the spark joy part, I think, expands because some people have joy just by owning a thing, even if they're never going to reread it, because it's part of a collection of a thing. So getting back to the spark joy, that's definitely part of the interpretation. And so
I think the funny part is both Alex and I turned to look behind us.
Well, I'm keeping GURPS Black Ops. It's up there somewhere.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
It's a good book, and it reminds me of a lot of good times I've had. The other GURPS books I have, I'm like, bye. Goodbye.
Yeah, actually, that's what I've been doing too, is we've been purging through the rule books. Now, one of the things that I have, and I know you both are going to laugh about this, but when I have a problem sleeping at night, I like to pick up a rule book and read through it and kind of envision playing that game and envision doing. And I know that cracks everybody up because you all know how much I hate the rules. And so it's like, it's just kind of an irony in my world. But I guess that kind of goes with humans are not straightforward, I guess.
Right.
But I've been looking through and it's like, I don't want to get rid of my Robotech books, my Robotech Palladium rule books. I am never going. Palladium is such a messed up, complicated system. I wouldn't torture my enemies by making them play Palladium. But I also don't want to get rid of my Palladium books.
Yeah.
Because they remind me of junior high and high school when we were all sitting around playing Robotech. And these were the books that sat on the table with us. You know, they haven't changed much since 1987 when they were deployed and stuff. So, and like my ICE books, of course, you know that I love my tables. Now that is a different story. I love those tables. So I'm not getting rid of it. So I was kind of doing the same thing. I was like, well, which one of these? And GURPS Space is one of my favorites because it's got some really, really fun world building for, you know, how to build a solar system, how to build planets into a solar system with a random dice. You just roll the dice and it adds planets into the solar system. So, I mean, it's just like such a really, and the third ed one, the fourth ed wasn't as good. Like third edition GURPS Space was really, really good at world building, universe building. So I'm not getting rid of my GURPS Space, but like the other GURPS books, I don't know. I mean, they're good. There's nothing wrong with them. Do I really need to haul them all the way across the ocean? No. You know? And so that's where I am. And you know, Brent's saying, I'm not getting rid of my books. And he's showing me a picture of his beautiful room in here. He's got like all of these books and everything. I'm not getting rid of all my books, but books are heavy. So I think I am going to try to do something, you know, and when it becomes by the pound on shipping, you know, there might be books that live at Troy's house just because
all of a sudden digital.
Yeah.
Digital format works much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
a lot of stuff on digital that I mean, obviously recently I have not been buying physical books at all. Since I think right around COVID, I stopped buying physical books. Even when I was in Kickstarters, I would order just their PDF version, just because of space constraints.
Yeah, I remember helping my brother move once and telling him you'd get a lot more volunteers to help you move if you were less literate.
Yeah,
Because so
Yep.
many books.
Yeah. I
it's
hauled
it's
a ton
true.
of
I mean,
books around.
I've got all of Shadowrun, but not a single physical book. But I have the entire Shadowrun, the new version 5 of Shadowrun, because Humble Bundle put out a deal at some point in time, and it was every frickin' Shadowrun book that ever existed or whatever. So I have the entire run, but they're all PDF. And so it's one of those things. But the thing that I'm still kind of struggling with is, as a collector, I want to collect my Axis and Allies, but I never play it, and I never will play it. But I do from time to time pull out the little plastic pieces. So the question is, should I part out the plastic pieces? What do I do with the game? It's got no plastic pieces now. So it's kind of a useless game. You can't play it. All the plastic pieces are gone. So do I just
somewhere there's somebody who has all the plastic pieces and someone spilled a orange juice on their map.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is I'll just take the rest of it to Black and Red.
Yeah. And you could also just there's a lot of game groups, local game groups on Facebook. You could and there's also a site called what's it called? Everything Free or something like that. Or basically stuff that people don't want, that they don't care about selling, they just put up and say, this is free, whoever can come get it.
Yeah.
And somebody actually did that with 5 really cool looking theater style chairs. And I'm like, if I had space and if I were the first person to go for it, I would totally get that. But I have no idea where I would put that. It just wouldn't work.
Right.
No, that'd be wicked.
But you could just go on there or one of the gameplay things and say, hey, I've got an incomplete copy of Axis and Allies. It has everything but the pieces.
Yeah.
Whoever wants it, pay for shipping or come get it.
Yeah, and I think that there's a certain number of things that I'm keeping for nostalgia. I've got a pretty complete version of FASA Star Trek from the late 80s, and I've even got the box set version of it, which that's been sort of a struggle. But in the 80s, the version that I had was ratty and torn apart, and so I have managed to replace it. So I'm keeping that one out of nostalgia, but I am trying to tone it down. I've got 4,000 FASA books, and I think I might just keep the ones that I really liked, the ones that maybe see how many of them fit in the box, the modules, because I've got a lot of modules. And then maybe the rest I'll give to my other role-playing group, because that's where we started. It was FASA Star Trek. We've moved on to Adventures, but which I do agree. I like the Star Trek Adventures. Modiphius's gaming system is much more cinematic, and I'm a much more cinematic GM. So Modiphius's system fits me a whole lot better than FASA did. But FASA is so pretty. I mean, as much as I love Modiphius, there's a design ethic that has moved on. The old 80s design ethic is also awesome, So actually, Brent, I would love to share it, but I cannot at the moment. So you'll just have to imagine what Brent's
I
living room
would
looks
love to have more room to put my books out and all my art out and everything too. I get it.
Yeah. Well, and then there's other weird things that I had never thought of. The Japanese just really aren't put a picture up on the wall people. That whole culture just isn't really that. It's never really been that. I mean, there are things on the wall, but usually it's a wall scroll with something said on it. They're not real put a picture up on the wall sort of people.
It says do not hang things on the wall.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing. when I was there just last in December, James was in his little apartment. He can't hang anything up on the wall. If he puts holes in the wall, he has to pay for it. So there's no way to hang stuff. I've got all these pictures that my
Poster
dad
buddy.
made. I mean, like he was a picture framer. And so I've got all these beautiful framed photographs and pictures and stuff. And I don't know, Well, I mean, obviously, Andy is saying they were at their neighbor's house and there was all photos all over the wall. Yes, but generally speaking, they won't let you put stuff in apartment walls and stuff like that. I mean, there will always be exceptions to every rule, but the problem is that I've got 10, 11, 15 framed pictures, framed art. I would have, even if I did have the ability to put stuff on the wall, I don't think there's enough walls for that in a little 2-bedroom apartment. So I've got to figure out what to do about that. What do I do about that? I mean, obviously I have that signed picture of D. Kelly, which means a lot to me and will go with me everywhere. I don't know how I'll ever put it anywhere, but I'll put it somewhere. But I mean, like, thinking about just James's apartment, there's no real wall space for stuff, really. I mean, he's got some wall space, but it's just not a lot of wall space there. And I mean, also, these apartments are super efficient. Like, space is at a premium. So there's not a lot of open wall that just exists.
So this is interesting. I looked it up just because I was curious. So yeah, this is more specifically talking about rented apartments in Japan. That you, depending on the size of the hole, you most likely will have to pay to get it repaired. There's also some locations, furnished apartments, that actually come with pre-installed features that minimize the need for drilling. Those, like, your designated area to hang stuff, but don't put any more holes in the wall type thing, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, it's really going to depend on.
Andy, I wasn't specifying something specific. I'm just saying that I will probably be in an apartment. And so the problem, of course, being that I have 15 pictures, so I will probably be in an apartment.
There's your problem. You just need to get more money and buy a house and stop renting an apartment.
Well, and that's the other question is, should I buy a house? And I don't know if I really want to mess with a house anymore. You know what I mean? I've had a house and I'm not, because houses are relatively cheap. And if I were out of, especially if I were the place I'm looking at is out in Ibaraki, and houses are relatively easy to come by out there. And it's kind of one of those things. It's like, do I want to mess with this? All of this stuff is part of this stress or not stress, because it's not really stressful so much as, gosh, these are all things I never thought of before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got this. What that means is you just need to home invade someplace and take them out and just
exactly.
It's like a reverse of that one movie, Parasite.
But no, I mean, even then, houses are. You'd have to keep the bugs out.
Yeah. Well, we don't really have any way to help people get houses, but we do have a way to help people get gaming modules and such.
Right, and that's because we have sponsors like Kieran Games, Geek Way Homes, The Massage Wizard, and Your Mom.
Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's okay. I didn't warn anyone.
I didn't. Yeah, but I just want to say that one of the solutions I've come up with is that I have rotating art. Some things are fairly permanent fixtures, but some things I change every season or so.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, these are all just things that I'm
for it when you're not hanging it up, but
Yeah. Well, it's like we've always got. There are a couple of things. I don't know. I just
you would also have to hang it up like really, really, really good if there's an earthquake.
Yeah, I think that's the other reason why you don't generally see the classic style pictures, because something with a glass frame is going to fall over in an earthquake. And I mean, Andy's right. There are a lot of, I mean, people are all over, and I'm sure that a lot of pictures in Japan get framed with plexiglass instead of regular glass for that very reason. It's the same reason why a lot of the windows in Japan have wires in them. And that's because that way they can shatter and they don't blow glass everywhere. The glass gets stuck in the wires.
Be right back.
Okay.
Yep. So I mean, like, it's there's a lot of practicality. If you find a stud, there's no issue. Yeah, but I don't know. And actually, I don't want to speak for Andy's location. Obviously, I have no earthly idea where you are or what you're living in or what building you're in or things like that. So I do know what my Leo Palace's rules were, and James's rules at his apartment are not much different. And that is, they've got this runner along the tops of a lot of the rooms with these sliding, for lack of a better, like a handle almost. So you can slide them across the room and hang something on them, but they're already pre-built into the ceiling. Not the ceiling, the tops of the walls. So at the very top of the wall where the joist of the ceiling is, got like this, it almost looks like a curtain rod almost, except larger. So there's like this, like almost a knob sort of thing like this inside this runner. You can hang hangers on it. So it'll hold a hanger, or it'll do what Andy's talking about, putting tapestries up, and it's like a crown molding, except that it's a runner all the way across the room. And I thought that was fascinating. Yeah, so you're living in a house. So houses are a different critter. And just like Andy was saying, it's hard for foreigners to get houses. And I don't know if I want one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to move to a house.
You kind of need to just figure out the math too of like, assume you're going to live for another 50 years, which is generous. Sorry. Mm-hmm. That's same for me.
True.
But if you figure that out and do the math and go, okay, how much will I be spending on rent for the next 50 years versus how much would I have to spend to buy a place? At what point is it going to be a bad financial investment to rent as opposed to buying? And just sort of weigh those two against each other.
Well, and I also kind of I've been playing that game for a lot of my life.
Yeah.
And the real truth of the matter is you don't know where life will take you.
No, but once you have, it's like owning a car versus renting.
Right. But I mean, like, you don't know where life will take you. And like, I thought this was going to be forever home for me, and it's not. And so I'm back to square one on that section anyway. So it's kind of one of those.
It's an investment and you get your money back.
Yeah. If you can sell the house, which
isn't a problem right now.
Actually, I don't know.
They all should have gone up in price. And give it another month because
well, and Andy's talking about another problem. Well, actually, you can't read what Andy's talking about. Andy's saying that the rent there is astronomical. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, that might actually be because of Yokohama. I don't know. When I was talking to James in December, it seems like Japan has stagnated roughly at where I was when I left 15 years ago. Like, the prices aren't that much higher than they were when I was there. They're a little higher, but not like they are here. Like, here in the last 15 years, everything has gone up. And there, it's gone up, but just not at the level that it's gone here. And that makes for an interesting other problem that I hadn't thought about, which is, moving to Japan, I'm going to be super rich. But if I need to move back here for any reason,
What's the prefix or area you're going to be at?
If all goes well, I'm going to be in Ibaraki. So Ibariki. No, AKI. if all goes well, but I don't know. I might be in Tokyo.
So, assuming this quick AI search is accurate, so it's saying the monthly rent for an apartment can range between 23,000 to 53,000 yen.
Yeah.
Depending on factors, size, location, blah 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 blah.
And I was paying. When I was there, my Leo Palace was roughly about 500 a month. So if you do the math on that, it's about 50K. So, because you add 2 zeros at the time.
Yeah, I mean the 53,000 right now at the top end that it was giving was $370.
Yeah,
and even if you double that and make it $800 a month, that's still cheaper than an apartment that you can get here.
Yeah,
because it's like 14
and that's
for one
that's
bedroom.
one of the things. Once I move over to Japan, I'll be like super rich for like the first 6 months, and then I'll be on the Japanese system, which means returning here won't work very well.
Mhm.
Because I'd have to save quite a bit to get that ramp to get back up here. So that's another one of those, 8:15 says Brent, but he's in Kansas.
Yeah.
Denver's right now one of the worst markets for housing.
Oh yeah.
And that's been one of the ongoing issues for a while. But I mean, like things like, weirdly, like going to the convenience store and buying my normal things that I bought 15 years ago, they're not that much more expensive in Japan than they were 15 years ago. Like, I went over there thinking I was not taking enough money with me, and actually came back with some money, not realizing, I mean, because I was like, I'm not taking enough money with me. We're not going to survive. And I had to keep me and my kid fed, and it was fine. It was like $5 for most of the food every day, It was like everything was like $5. Not really, but you get the idea. Like I could feed my kid and I for $10. And like here, it's 30. You just go to McDonald's and it's $30, and it's like that's dramatic. And it's just it's a very different, like all of these things are like stuff I got to think about, and it's so weird. Anyway, that did not go from the Marie Kondo part. Yeah, and Andy is down in Yokohama, which is not a cheap part of town in Tokyo either. It's almost like being in like Shibuya or Shinjuku. It's one of the more expensive locations in the Tokyo proper. So that's not to discount what Andy's saying. Certainly, I mean, Andy's got some good points going on. But yeah, it's a pricey area, which may be my problem too. A couple of the places I'm looking at are in Tokyo proper, and so I'd be in the midst of that, So a beach town. That's even, although, man, Andy, Yokohama's got like the coolest Chinatown. I love Chinatown in Yokohama. It's one of my favorite places. Just because it's just so cool. There's like so much really interesting stuff going on there. And there's so much mix of culture. And it's just really, but of course I'm a cultural anthropologist. So, as soon as the cultures start getting wild and woolly, I'm so there, like I just love that stuff. So always been sort of the thing. That's fair. Yeah, that's going to be one of those things. If I move, I'm hoping to get to the I'm hoping to get to that my location in Ibaraki. If I don't, I will be a long way from my dojo. I've noticed it's like the big thing. But like the target right now, my primary target is 38 minutes from the dojo by car. And I'm like, that would be attending 3 times a week. Easy. You know what I mean? But if I am somewhere else, in anywhere in Tokyo or whatever, it's like a 3-hour run from some of those other locations.
I was just looking up something that I saw a short little video on a few days ago about anime hotels, because the trip person was just talking about how it's a good workaround if you're really short on money and you need a place to stay to like sleep, because you can rent it for a whole night, and it's like a super tiny room that comes with, DVD
I
player.
mean, manga hotels.
Manga hotels. Okay, sorry, but they also have video games and anime.
Well, yeah, but they're called manga hotels.
Okay,
Yes,
so
you're right.
but yeah, like
The
one that I
name
found
is
was like
manga hotel.
one I found was like
Or-
$20 a night, which it's like, yeah, if you're on the cheap and you can't afford a hotel, that's an interesting way to go about it.
I was seeing a story about a lady who that was her thing. She lived in an apartment, but she kept working such long hours that it was after the train stopped running. So she ended up crashing a lot at the manga cafes.
That sounds similar to the same video I was watching.
And so she'd end up having to crash out there and just stay there and then get back to work the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, Brent, I did see the thing on the ID.Buzz. Thank you. And that's the color combo that I would get. I'm just saying. He sent me a video on the ID.Buzz. And so just still have sort of a crush on that van. I'm just saying.
Make the next Herbie movie.
Yeah. They need to make that'd be awesome. An ID.Bug. I'd be so into that plan. I'm just saying. Although they have said apparently Volkswagen has decided that their ID dot. Yeah, the battery has been a topic of discussion with the ID.Buzz for a while. The other thing is that like they're putting in drum breaks instead of discs. And I'm like, what are we reverting? We're like going back to the 1950s. So yeah, it has. So it's. I've been seeing a couple of these ID.Buzzes wandering around, and I guess the concept is they're using the electric motor resistance to slow the vehicle down, so they're not needing discs as much to stop the vehicle. But I still feel like that's asking for trouble. So I'm not a fan of drum brakes. I've driven cars with drum brakes, so
drum and snare brakes,
drum and snare brakes,
air brakes. So coffee breaks. So happy Pride Day. The improv group I'm in will be marching in the parade June 29th, Sunday, downtown.
Yep.
So it's just something where it's like, instead of doing a show, because normally we would be doing a show on that day, we're going to be there. And I forget the group that is having us join them, because we're not in the parade only as the improv group. We're in the parade as part of another theater type group that wants us to be a part of their group and march in the parade with them. So
cool.
We're like done. So
yeah, it's Pride.
It is.
I think Pride's cool.
Bunch of lions.
So
I was going to message this to you, Alex, but I'll just say it here because there might be other people interested. There's going to be an estate sale on David Lynch's stuff. Have you seen anything about that?
No.
Okay.
I can't afford any of that shit. Are you kidding me?
I figured it was
one
of those.
This is how Alex became poor.
I figured you both don't want to know, but also want to know.
I would. Oh my god, I would love to have because it's gonna be. Oh shit, it's gonna be full of stuff that he just fucking tinkered around and made. I would love
this
to have
fork belonged to. Okay.
Whenever you're watching a David Lynch thing and there's something kind of weird and cool in the background or the foreground, chances are he made it. And so I obviously the stuff that's like, oh, this was used in this scene in this movie. Okay, it's gonna be stupidly expensive. But even it just seems to me like anything that he made with his own two hands is gonna be expensive, especially now he's dead. It's like I would love a little desk lamp. It'd just be amazing. Yeah, I love his take on Dune. So good.
There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, June 18th. They are doing online stuff too ahead of time. Um, but I'll just scroll through here. 441 different lots. But
Yeah.
mini electronic espresso grinder, $3,000.
Yeah. 3
Yeah.
mugs, $700.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. There's just no fucking way.
But I thought it might be fun to look at the stuff that he has. But yeah, there's so many collectors out there with ridiculous budgets that they're gonna easily be able to grab all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, Inland Empire for $3,500, like a poster for
Signed
$300.
poster,
Yeah.
the one that you don't want.
That movie's dog shit. Anyway, but yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of this is just random stuff that it's because he owned it. People want it that you could go buy much cheaper if you just
Mm-hmm.
fog
Yeah,
machine.
like milk crate.
Yeah, milk crates.
They have stuff in them.
Yeah,
But no, it's like I said, like I would love to have like just a little desk lamp.
Oh,
that he made.
reels.
Just,
God. What is it? Solid state tape record or tape reader?
Mhm. Crazy.
I will always be a fan of just
Mhm.
that mid-century
So many
electronics
cameras.
and technology.
Clearly, he was too. Megaphone.
You can yell at people like David Lynch.
All right, so yeah, I'll stop sharing that.
oh, yeah. I have gone through actually like So the kiddo and I are going to Weird Al at Red Rocks in a few weeks, and I was like, okay, well, time to start playing lots of Weird Al. You know, we watched UHF again. We'd already seen Weird a couple months ago. Again. But I was like looking through the list on my that I'd written. I'm like, where's Polka Party? Where's Mandatory Fun? I own these albums. So to venture to the crawl space and dig through my boxes of CDs and find them and re-rip them and put them onto the MP3 player.
Yeah.
But I still have not been able to find, and it's obviously not in a dedicated CD box in there, my audio book of the Secret History of Twin Peaks. So I have everything I own that's Twin Peaks related media wise is on the cubby on that shelf. Right in the dead center. Found my copy of Secret History of Twin Peaks, but not the audiobook. So dun dun dun. But yeah. Yeah, David Lynch. Yeah. Oh, I've been watching Demon Slayer.
That's a thing.
And
What you think?
I'm about 8 or 9 episodes in.
Okay.
I really liked it at the beginning. And I mean, I'm a sword guy, so they talk about, okay, the sword, you know, it's weak laterally, so you must make sure that your energy and the angle of the sword are in alignment. And I go, yes, you do. Good job. And then like I saw like where they're like, he cut off some demon's head and forearms. Right. So the sword should be at this angle, but he's posing with the sword like this. And I'm like, come on, dicks. Come on.
Yeah.
That's me being a nitpicky sword guy. So they're battling like I said, I'm still really early. I started watching it because someone I know is like, you remind me of the bad guy from Demon Slayer. And I'm like, I've never seen this. I guess I should watch it. I forget his name because I'm not great with names. I'll look it up. It's the if you look up Demon Slayer villains, it's the guy with the white hat, the black headband or hatband. And then now I'm watching it. They're inside the house with lots of demons in it, and the drum demon is the one who's like, "Get the fuck out my house, motherfuckers! I fucking hate you." But he's wound up before on his way there. There's another survivor from the test who's there, who is super annoying. He is so annoying. Oh my god. And like, it's the one with like the orange hair. He does the thunder styles. Of course, they're calling out their attacks, water breathing form number. Shut the fuck up. But and he meets him again, and he's all like, "Oh, marry me," to this chick, and it's like, just leave her alone. She's not into this. Just leave her alone. And then it keeps on being just Mr. Coward Man. I'm like, yeah, and I know he's gonna have some breakthrough, be some big character moment, but it's gonna be a while before that. And I got to the point where he did like thunder breathing form number 1. I'm like, sure. And he does all that, but I'm like, I'm literally skipping his scenes.
Wow.
He starts like he's
statement.
there, and like I'm like, okay, as soon as you open your mouth and be an asswipe, I'm skipping ahead, and it never takes very long. And good old Netflix, it has like here's a little window of what didn't I? As you scroll through, I'm like, yep.
We're done talking now. Gotcha.
And play.
Yep.
It's like, no, I'm like, life's too short. And so right now, I'm not even sure if I like Demon Slayer, but I'm still giving it a chance. Some of it is still pretty interesting. Yeah, we shall see.
On that same token, I finished Andor season 2. And I have heard that Doctor Who just did a dramatically interesting left turn. I don't know anything about it yet, but enough that all of our mutual friends who are Whovians are like, what? The what? Like they're really lost. So
Doctor Who becomes Dr. What? Professor What?
Yep. Professor What? I will say, if you are going to watch Andor season 2, I highly recommend that
you watch part 1.
Yeah, I highly recommend that when you get to the last 2 episodes, 11 and 12, that you save time to be able to at least watch the first half of Rogue One. Because don't watch it then.
Yeah, I'm like sorry.
Yeah.
I thought Rogue One, with the exception of Donnie Yen, was aggressively mediocre.
Then don't watch it. But literally, and this is not spoiler territory, literally the last scene of season 2 and the last episode, he's walking off to do the thing that he does in the first scene of Rogue One. So it literally picks up right there. So I think that's actually really cool. And I actually stayed up an extra hour late that night, even though I had work the next day, just so I could watch the first hour of Rogue One, just to see how all the threads that they had planted in Andor plugged into the story as the movie went through. And I thought that was really neat. Cool. And I've got to say, I'm duly impressed with the way that they added depth to Rogue One. Unlike Alex, I really do like Rogue One. It's one of my favorites of the Star Wars flicks. I enjoy it a lot, and it was a good movie in my opinion. And now I like it even more because Andor plugs into it all over the place, and that made it. They added a whole lot of depth to what was going on in that movie.
Cool. I'm really early in Andor. I'm like episode 3 or so.
Yeah.
So.
So anyway, if you're watching Andor and wrapping it up, just make sure you've saved yourself time to at least watch the first 30 minutes to an hour of Rogue One, just to see how cleverly they plugged everything in. Even you, Alex, I would recommend that, just because it is cool to see. As a storyteller, it's cool to see all
that.
Those
makes me actually want to rewatch it, because once I've watched Andor, because actually I do like that a lot.
Yeah,
like I read every single Stephen King novel and short story just to see how it connected to the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought that was just really cool, and I just really neat how they did it.
Cool.
So recommend.
Cool. Brent agrees. or Brent at least says it is the best of the Disney Star Wars movies. Man, I haven't seen all of the Disney Star Wars movies. My favorite, and it might be my favorite Star Wars movie, I need to rewatch it though, is Last Jedi. Big fan of Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm seeing a lot of people all over the place on the Star Wars trilogies. I was never as big of a Star Wars fan as I am a Star Trek fan, so I always make this kind of commentary, which is I'm just along for the ride. So wherever that ride takes me, I'm good with it. So I don't have an
we got a
opinion.
gatekeep you guy. Gatekeeping in progress.
I don't really have like a
Can't
big
talk about
opinion
it.
on a lot of those. Like I know Troy has a massive opinion on things, and King of the Turds. Andy's commenting that that's not saying a lot to be the best of the Disney flicks.
Yeah, see, my thing is because of the timing of when they hit. I really disliked the prequels far more than any of the Disney films, and a lot of people are like, "No, they're good compared to the Disney films. The Disney films suck." And I'm like, that's entirely. You know?
You're welcome to your opinion.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong
and I
with
get that. It's a timing thing. It's like had I been a different age when I saw them and saw them in a different order, I'd probably feel differently about it.
Yeah.
But that wait between the first three and the prequels really built up a lot of anticipation, and those prequels really destroyed where the bar was for me. So then when Disney came in, that bar was already so far lowered for me that they did not have to jump too high to get over it. So
yeah, when I was a kid, I loved Return of the Jedi. Loved it. Like my mom made me a Luke Skywalker shirt that I wore till I literally couldn't anymore.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't fit it anymore. And I must have seen the movie in the theater, being a kid and having like no money. Somehow I finagled watching the theater probably a dozen times.
you probably did the sneaky thing like I did as a kid.
I don't know. I say nothing.
No, not saying anything. Yes. I think the statute of limitations ran out on that.
Yeah. And so then but like rewatching it, like I definitely showed the kiddo original Star Wars trilogy and stuff. And then we watched like Visions.
Visions rocks.
Visions is very interesting. I like it. I like it a lot. Though I wish they had done a few things differently. Anyway, but like
I haven't watched it, but one of my kids who's into Star Wars, Bad Company. Is either of you?
I hear that's good.
Yeah,
I've seen some Bad
really
Company.
liked it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like I'm watching, like rewatching it. Return of the Jedi again. I'm like, oh my god, like all this Ewok shit. Just fuck off.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't have a problem with Star Wars. Because I was a Trekkie, coming into Star Wars, it was campy and weird and didn't want to follow any physics known to man. And like all the things that, as a kid, I'm watching it going, you know what? I'm just going to have to suspend my disbelief on this. The story is campy. The dialogue's campy. But the spaceships are cool, and I'm in on the spaceships, and I think that's the way I've been with Star Wars the whole time. And it's kind of like watching Flash Gordon. You can go back and watch the old Flash Gordons. They're all horribly campy and terrible, but they're still fun. And so I think part of it is just that I have always accepted it was campy, and the dialogue was crappy. And sometimes the stories were very simple and straightforward. And so none of it offends me.
No,
and I actually was really pleased with Andor, because Andor actually does kind of level up a little bit. And, it's still somewhat campy, and it still kind of has that camp to it. But there's a lot more political under intrigue going on inside that. That's kind of cool. And they're talking to situations and stuff and making a little bit more of which is much more like Star Trek's zone. And so Andor really did make a lot more, I was like, oh, okay, I'm into Andor a little bit more,
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in seeing Andor when all I was hearing about it was it's Star Trek for adult or Star Wars for adults. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
They were
but not adult Star Wars.
But but then when there's a commentator that I enjoy named Steve Shives, another commentator I enjoy named what's his name, Damon, and especially Damon was like, it is a sci-fi allegory of how to rebel against an empire
Mm-hmm.
and totalitarianism and capitalism. I'm like, I'm there. I'm watching this
Yeah.
shit now.
It's really nice. It's an interesting thing. It's got a lot of, it pulls a lot from history in our actual history, and
Mhm.
you can hear echoes of French Revolution, the French Rebellion during World War II. There's a lot of very interesting stuff going on in that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the way they did it. And that leveled it up a little bit. I might actually be kind of spoiled. But I mean, like Acolyte, I really liked where they were going with Acolyte.
Yeah, that was cool.
Because
Joe and I liked it.
Yeah, because I don't have any problems with them making the Jedi bad guys, because I'm not necessarily, which was the argument, by the way. Not that I think that they were making the Jedi bad guys, but the argument for Acolyte was that the Jedi were, not the pristine good guys. And I'm like, hate to say this, but the Jedi, I mean, realistically here, Anakin killed a whole bunch of younglings. Just saying. Not only that,
wouldn't the argument be that he's a Sith?
Younglings from people.
Wouldn't
Well,
the
the
argument
Jedi
be that-
snatched kids and
Yeah.
told them to deaden their emotions and have no connections with anybody.
For me, where it was is when
It's bad guy behavior.
when Mace Windu backstabbed another person and cut their head off without them being armed.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm
Dr.
sitting there going,
Venture.
I don't know. I mean,
Bad
Jedi have had their
guys.
moments like everybody else, so I don't care.
Yeah.
But I actually liked where they were heading with it. I felt like Acolyte was heading in a good and interesting way, and was going to a place that I was like, I'm ready to be here for this. And I was kind of bummed when they canceled it, because I was like, I think I'm ready for that.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to throw a wild guess out that the main character wasn't a white male.
Yeah,
Ding,
that's
ding,
true.
ding.
I don't know how I knew that.
Correct.
But and there has been a lot of chatter about that part too. I don't know. I mean, like my whole thought was I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought they were, but it's one of those things. Dig it. I dig a lot of Star Wars. The times when I don't like Star Wars is when their ships are bland and silly looking, and I'm like, you people. Like I didn't like that much some of the ship designs that they came up with for the new trilogies as much. I really didn't like the ape like AT-ATs. I didn't like those guys very much at all.
I'm not trying to rush you. I just want to let you know that we're at 10:05 almost.
Yeah. Well, because I'm now rambling on about
spaceships. But I just wanted to point it out.
I know you guys are totally into, but not really. But yeah, I mean, like, so I guess part of that was just I've always thought Star Wars was campy, and actually kind of lean into that. I'm okay with it being campy. So when it's campy, I'm okay with that. That seems to be par for the course.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things when you watch Star Wars again, the original trilogy, it's kind of like watching Knight Rider. Like, you should never watch Knight Rider. Knight Rider was one of my favorite shows ever, but man, watching it now,
there's a lot more there with Star Wars than there is Knight Rider. I mean, the reason why I kind of hate the Ewoks is, those like it to me, it's distracting from the stuff that I actually find very compelling.
Yeah.
But I wish, honestly, that the Jar Jar is a Sith Lord, the Darth Jar Jar theory wasn't so well known, because I would actually love to run a game of better than Phantom Menace.
Yep.
And it would be Darth Jar Jar was the villain.
Somebody in this group on this particular podcast did that, and I actually rather enjoyed.
He had his own take. It was not.
I had my own take, and Jar Jar was not it.
No.
But I mean,
I had a kick-ass sexy
somebody also
Sith
did
Lord.
the "What if we did this better?"
Yeah. You guys killed Jar Jar upon landing upon the planet, and that was one of the biggest.
I think we
changes
landed on him.
You landed on him.
I remember us
and he was
landing on him.
Yep.
Cushion.
Yeah, that was all 100% catharsism of me getting all of my hate out for those prequels. Of like, I'm going to run the game the way it should have been. Because if 2 Jedi go somewhere and then they're not heard from, they're sending like 30 Jedi to go find out what happened to those 2 Jedi. They're not going to just go, I guess they got lost. I
Right?
don't know.
Maybe they went on vacation.
Yes.
This
They're at
happens
the
all
spa.
the time.
Anyway, if I had the money, if I had won the lottery, I'd definitely be buying one of these saxophones that David Lynch had owned.
Oh, no way.
He has like several signed by different artists, like one by Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
He has, of course, a Bill Clinton signed saxophone. And they're all up. I'm like, yeah, that would be the thing I would go for, I think, if I was going for something on here, because it's something I could have and use.
Right.
And that, so.
I think I would want a desk lamp and like an ashtray he made.
Ashtray.
Yep. I'm not a smoker, but I smoke once in a while. And it'd be
Yeah,
nice
no,
to be like,
I'm chuckling because I'm like that. I'm chuckling not because
It's that this guy made ashtrays is what you're chuckling at.
more along the lines of that just sounds right.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you hear something and you're like, I would never have thought of that, but you say it and it's just right. It's
Yeah.
that's correct. You know, there's a certain amount of that in the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That
I
was
think
fun.
we should probably call it.
Let's call it. I gotta wake up
Bob
in
would
the
have
morning
reeled
and
us in if
frost
Bob was here. Bob would have been
cupcakes.
like, all right, good night.
I'm going to bed. Bob would already be out of here.
Bob's our clock for knowing when to log off.
Right. So we were talking about the Pride thing. Is that next Monday? Was that what you were talking about?
The
It's
month?
Sunday. It's 29th.
29th, yeah.
Okay.
No, next
So.
Sunday is nothing.
Perfectly reasonable. I just wanted to make sure because we will be back next week then.
Yes, we'll be on. We'll be
More
online.
goodness.
We talk
But
about Andor.
unfortunately, I think we are way over our time. So
Mhm.
until
we've done worse.
yeah, until next week, that's all the time we have for today. I've been Guy,
I have been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
and this is Geek Tank.